Peace, family. Peace, 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 peace. All right. I hope you guys are having a phenomenal day. If not, do understand and get it. Your day is going to get better once your perception gets better. Let's say it again. Your day is going to get better once your perception gets better. If you are new to my channel, my name is Dina Bryant. I do these inspirational videos so we can shift our mindset, we can change our energy, and receive the things that we truly desire. So today's video is Source Wants You to Win. Honey, Source wants you to win. Now, it doesn't matter what you call Source. Infinite intelligence, ancestors, God, universe, it doesn't matter what you call Source, okay? You can't get wet from sand water. When I had my spiritual awakening in 2018, it was literally like the universe was conspiring to work in my favor, okay? And even before that, when I was a kid, I remember it would be times, I was probably like a little, or thought that things was wrong, right? And at times I would go to my aunt who had custody of me, and like if I said, "Oh, well, auntie, this is wrong" or whatever, she would be like, "Girl, no, ain't nothing wrong with you," right? And so the other day when I did a video and I was like, "It's nothing wrong with you. It's nothing wrong with you." Okay. All right. Just those belief systems that's doing it to you. Okay. But besides that, you was born with unlimited potential within you. Okay. So in 2018, so I always pretty much had like this somewhat of a positive mindset, somewhat. And I say somewhat because then at times I would worry, okay? Not being a warrior, honey, I would worry a lot, okay? So in 2018, after I had my spiritual awakening, everything just started, like, just all started coming together for me. Now, let me tell you something. I did go through some obstacles after my spiritual awakening, but those obstacles were challenges and opportunities, okay? Obstacles was opportunities, okay? Like perhaps probably you may go through something with family members like after you have your spiritual awakening, and that is just because you are changing from the paradigm. You are changing from the multitude of habits that you have been conditioned to practice, okay? So I'm gonna give you guys a few examples, okay? I remember I was doing Uber, right? And I had received a ticket. And the ticket was because I was, like double parked or whatever it was. And the cop who gave me the ticket, I was only in the restaurant probably for like 1 minute, okay? I just went to pick the order up. And the cop had gave me a ticket. And when I had went to go pay the ticket, they couldn't find the ticket in the system. Okay, and this was before COVID. Okay, this was before then. So if you like, oh, probably no, honey, no, they couldn't find the ticket in the system. I had went to the precinct, like the precinct where the police officer was who issued the ticket. Like you could go to that precinct and see like the ticket and everything like that because I couldn't find it in the system. And they was like, there's no ticket. Okay, that was one. Then I had went through some, and let me tell you something about this, okay? My aunt, who I told you guys in probably a few other videos, who had custody of me, and I remember like when I would run away from her house, right? I ran away, I think like, well, not from her house. I ran away from my grandmother's house. But my aunt, she the one who had custody of me. And I remember it always felt like no matter what, happened, it always seemed like everything was always working for her. You know, like going when she would go to court, show up in court and be like, she would say me and my sister and I, they keep running away and all this other stuff. It seemed like everything, Then we would go to like this shelter thing, because my aunt was like, she wasn't going through it, okay? Which was understandable. So, as I was thinking about this video, I started thinking like, even prior to doing this video, I was like, oh my goodness, everything just seemed like it was working in her favor. And the reason being is because, in the words of James Allen, okay, as a man thinketh, okay, he who say he can, he who say he can't, okay? And I'm going to need you to know that source is working in your favor. I'm going to need you to wholeheartedly know that source is working for you. Source wants you to win, okay? And it could be some things that you may be experiencing right now, being, like certain things that just keep coming up, right? You feel uncomfortable. It feels like where you working at is like the same exact thing. That's because source wants you to win. It's because it's something more within you that you're supposed to be doing, as opposed to just thinking you was created to work and pay bills and then on the weekend go party. Honey, you supposed to be doing way more than that, okay? And that's why you may be experiencing the probably experiencing some anxiety, okay? Maybe experiencing some depression, because source is like, listen, this is not it. Yeah, your spirit is basically saying that you supposed to be doing something else, okay? And it's getting sick and tired of you playing this role, wearing these masks, okay, showing up with these different personas. Is sick of that. It wants you, the real you. It wants the real you to show itself, okay? The real you is love, okay? So, that so I had another incident that happened was, I was going through it with my youngest children's father, okay, who at the time I didn't want to put him on child support, because it was a part of me that was like, well, maybe me and him could get back together, right? Um, but I seen that, that ain't gonna work, right? So he had stopped. He had agreed to help out, after we broke up, but he stopped helping out. Like one day he was supposed to make the payment the next day that we have agreed to, and then he called me the day before and was like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to make the payment. And I was like, what? So it wasn't only that, it was him also picking the children up like we had agreed to, and he didn't do it. He didn't keep his word. And it was, my intuition was telling me like, go to the courthouse. And I just was like, I'm not gonna go to the courthouse. And this is another thing for mainly for the ladies out there. Don't feel bad if you have to put that significant other, your children's father, your ex-husband, or it could be your husband right now, but you're in the midst of a divorce or whatever. Don't feel bad by making them help out, okay? Because you didn't have those children by yourself. And I know sometimes we may feel like, well, I'm going to do everything by myself, because that's what I was saying. And Source was showing me like all these different things. I mean, I got cut off of welfare. I got cut off of food stamps, okay? And I was still like, I'm going to do everything by myself. I'm going to do everything by myself. And I had a good friend, and she was like, I hear what you're saying, but it's not supposed to be hard like that. You doing everything by yourself, and you working all those hours, because at that time I was doing Lyft and Uber. When I would get done with doing Lyft, I would turn Uber on. So after I did 12 hours of Lyft, then I would go over to Uber. And Uber and Lyft is ride shares, just honey, me being a taxi. Okay, all right, with my own vehicle. All right, so the people probably like, what the hell is that? Okay, so it was so many signs, and I remember I was panicking a little because I didn't know. I had forgot about, how the child support thing worked, okay? Because my children's father, he was, pretty much saying, "Oh, well, I didn't work, for so long or whatever." And I was there like, "No, I work like trying to listen, don't be out here trying to convince nobody. Okay? Don't. So I was like, "Oh no, I worked and all this other stuff," like to him. And none of that mattered. Okay. None of that mattered because at the time I wasn't working. Okay. That's another thing. And I remember I even paid for a psychic, okay, because I wanted to know about if I was gonna win a case. And my youngest children's father, he was pretty much like telling the, because we had a mediator before, we didn't even see the judge. We had a mediator, and he was pretty much saying like, first he was saying like the children, he wanted a DNA test for our children. That was one. And I was like, I was hurt. Okay, but Source was like, "Don't you worry, girl, you good. Don't you worry about this." Okay. And we did the DNA test, and it is, girl. Okay. But when we went through the whole process, he was pretty much telling like the mediator, after he found out that they was his, he was pretty much telling the mediator like he wanted full custody of our children. And I was like, "Oh my goodness." I think that really like threw me in for a spin. And he was telling the mediator because my youngest son had got burnt when my youngest son had went and picked up a cup of noodle soup, and I told him not to touch it. And the mediator pretty much, it was just like everything was just working. Like the mediator was like, "No, um if you felt like it was an issue like that, you should have contacted the courthouse before, because it's just gonna look like it's gonna look it would have looked different if you would have came to the courthouse, with those concerns. But since she's the one who filed the complaint, for child support and for you to have visitation and stuff like that, like practically pick the children up. Okay. Um, it seems different. It would have been, that could have worked if you would have came up here first. But since you didn't, it showed you wasn't concerned at that time. Okay, because why you ain't file a report? So all of that, right? And everything worked in my favor. Everything worked in my favor. Okay. So my plan was, I had told him, my younger children father, I said, "You know what? We could, if you could just take the kids from Friday up into Sunday, okay? And if you can pay a certain amount, the courthouse, honey, let me tell you something. The mediator said from Thursday until Monday. Okay. Okay. And then the child support payments. But what was even crazier, because he had a lawyer, and even a lawyer was like, because we had started talking about the time, right? We agreed to 7 o'clock for him to pick our children up, right? And the lawyer was like, "All right, 7 o'clock." No, he said, "What time, you gonna pick the children up?" This was before the judge like signed off on the agreement. And his lawyer was pretty much like, all right, so what time you want to pick the children up? So we was like, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and the lawyer was like, no, it can't be 6:30 or so. It has to be one or the other. You can't have her waiting around. It's like universe, okay? I see you. I see you working for me. Okay. I get it. Okay. All right. Let me tell you something. It's like, since you are rocking out to your purpose, is it's like you become untouchable. And I had said this before, but no, like really, really feels like you are untouchable. I mean, yeah, granted, you gonna, go through some obstacles, but there are opportunities, but I'm telling you, it's like, because Source knows that you are doing the work, right? And you giving back, so to speak, to humanity, is like you really become untouchable. So that was one scenario, okay? Then I had a vehicle, right? And 2019, I want to say the vehicle had got repoed. And I had received a letter from the bank that I did business with, the loan. They sent me a letter like 6 months later saying like the loan was forgiven. I was like, what? Okay. All right. Now I know a little something about consumer law, but I was like, what? Out of nowhere, I received that letter stating that the loan was forgiven. And I called them back, okay. And at first I was a little nervous because I was like, is this from, I don't know if this like a debt collector, okay? And I was a little nervous, although it said the bank name on the bottom of the paper, honey, okay? And so I called them back, and I was like, yeah, I received a letter, stating that the loan was forgiven, or somebody had applied, the remaining balance of that loan to that account, to my account. And the guy was like, yeah, he was like, yeah, because the bank was Allie. He was like, yeah, Allie at the end of the year, they write that off and they receive that money from, they on their taxes. So it's really not a loss. I was like, what? Another thing I'm gonna share with you guys. Okay, two others. I got two more stories. Okay, two more stories, girl, because I really want you to start understanding that it's working in your favor. Okay, Source really wants you to win out here in these streets. Okay, but you out here looking crazy. Source wants you to win. I had went to this school. Okay, this was probably 2019 as well, or 2019. I had went to this business school. I had met this young lady because I was doing network marketing at the time, and I picked her up. I was also doing Uber, and I picked her up, and I was telling her pretty much about the products that I was selling, and she was like, "Oh well, we have this business school. If you interested in, you could do this business school. Just shoot me an email, and I give you, more information about it." So I sent her an email. She sent me all the information. The business school, it was like for 12 weeks. It was only once a week on Thursdays. Okay. And I completed the business school. A few months later, I received an email stating that the business school was giving $500 out. Now, prior to that, I had went to H&R Block, to get that advance loan, okay, and I was denied. And I didn't feel any particular way. I just was like, if it was meant, I would have received it. Right after that, I received an email. And pretty much the business school was saying like they was giving out $500. Only thing you needed to do was do a survey, and then you will be entered into, to the contest or whatever. So I did this survey. Don't you know I got that $500, girl? Okay, I got that $500. So when I'm telling you, Source wants you to win out here, Source wants you to win. And look at this, because if I would have got it from H&R Block, I would have had to pay it back. Okay, but since I got it from the business school, I ain't have to pay that back. Another thing, I told you guys I was working for this lady, okay, and I'm so grateful for her. I'm so grateful for her. She fired me, okay, and at that time I was like, oh my goodness, wasn't working for her for long or whatever. Applied for unemployment, got it, okay. Then, okay, that same year, or was it the next year? No, the same exact year. My oldest son, who is now 20, he had told me, he kept saying, go to file your taxes. And I just kept saying no, because it was like a lot of different things going on. The thing going on with my youngest children father, okay, like all these different things. So when I tell you, you may be faced with obstacles that are really opportunities. They are really opportunities, okay. And I just kept saying no, I don't want to go to file my taxes. I know I'm not gonna hardly make. Honey, I went to file my taxes. I made way more money back than I did when I was working. Okay. So much so I had to tell a lady at H&R Block, I said, listen, okay, make sure those taxes are correct, okay? Because they ain't coming for me. Okay, they gonna be coming for you. All right. Okay. So those are some of the stories, examples that I wanted to share with you guys. Is many more, but honey, we'll be here practically all goddamn day. Do understand that Source wants you to win. You was not just created to work and pay bills. There's something in you that is phenomenal. It's something in you that no one could ever take from you if you just tap into your gifts. Okay? Source is always leading and showing you the way, but oftentimes we gotta, you know, so to speak, kill the ego, because the ego is telling you, no, this ain't working for you. And in fact, it is working for you. You just probably can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it may appear that it's not working for you. But I am here to tell you, honey, it is all working for you. It is all coming together for the greater good. And when you follow your heart, the universe will conspire to work in your favor. And with that being said, and that was like my first book, The Alchemist. When I got on this spiritual journey, that was like my first book, because I remember hearing Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, talk about The Alchemist. And I went and got The Alchemist, and that was my first book. Now I have a whole collection of books, but that was my first book. So I hope you guys feel inspired. Do understand that is all coming together for the greater good. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.